Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website JFA49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Welcome into a preseason finale, preseason victory Monday. I'm wearing black to for all of the fallen Niners who will not make the cut. Soon we'll find out who those players will be. And yes, that is going to happen very soon. We're going to get into some of that. We have some questions. We have some answers on some things. It was good to see us play well against Trey Lance. I think that I'll start there. I want to say that
he's starting out being a hater.
No, I am saying that I was watching with my folks, and my dad pointed something out, and he said, when Trey has to go against us and throw the ball more than 15 yards, it doesn't seem that he can do it. And it's been how long since he's been drafted, and to see those struggles, it's like, it's more the vindication. I'm not being a hater. I am vindicated.
I don't know if it's vindication to say we're proven that our 3 first-round picks quarterback is not anywhere close to that kind of value. That doesn't feel like vindication. It feels like salt
stupidity.
in the wound.
It feels like stupidity, right? No, all I'm saying
is it feels like vindication for those who made the argument that Trey Lance was not it.
Oh, you mean like me?
Okay, so Adam's feeling vindicated for himself, but I'm feeling salt in the wound a little bit for the team. Now, look, Trey Lance, I will say, the kid just needs lots more reps. I don't know if I think he's running out of runway in the NFL for people waiting for the development to happen. How many more off seasons are we going to say, Trey Lance needs these reps. He needs these reps. He needs these reps. It is becoming abundantly clear that he was going to need like 3 years worth of game reps to get to a good point. He's moving better. He's moving through his reads and processing better than he was last time I saw him in San Francisco, but still well behind where he should be as the point he is in his career. And he's not anywhere close to being a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's just not on the table right now. This is looking like maybe a backup quarterback for. He'll get another year shot at that, and then teams are going to say, okay, it's time to start, looking at younger prospects.
Yeah.
He's still a pretty young guy. He's still young. He's 25. So this isn't like doors closed on his career, but you start saying, okay, when you're in your 4th, 5th, 6th year in the NFL, how much longer are we waiting for you to still develop? And, that's just the way it goes sometimes. And that's not necessarily his fault. It has just been the hand he's been dealt. That's what happens when a 7th round guy comes in last pick in the draft and plays all world. So, and who did get 4 years worth of reps in college. So Yeah, I believe I agree with Collie. He should have stayed in college.
Oh, big time.
It's hard though when you have that carrot dangling out there where agents are telling you're going to be a first round pick and you're guaranteed $22 million basically.
Yeah, like what are you supposed to do?
I mean, it'd be hard for me to sit there and say, yeah, the best decision is for me to stay at North Dakota State to develop another year after COVID and turn down $22 million fully guaranteed. That'd be a tough one. But overall, I felt like, defense played all right. Offense played up and down. First half was rough, especially I watched the tape, the entire defensive game film, and then the first 3 quarters of the offensive game film. Before I just was like, well, that last quarter there wasn't a whole lot to see there. The players that were in for the Chargers are not NFL standard at all, so it was interesting watching the game. I didn't come away from it going, as high on a few players as some people are. I just kind of felt meh over most of the team. Like it was okay. It was an okay preseason. It was kind of what you'd expect from a third preseason game or what used to be the fourth preseason game. It went, it was okay. I didn't see anything that made me just go, okay, this guy needs to be a starter. He should be in the lineup more. By the way that you could see the playing time working out, the 49ers have obviously felt that way. Now, the most interesting nugget for me watching the tape was after Chase Lucas came in, I started noticing he wasn't playing in the slot at all. I was paying attention to where he was lining up, and that he played all of his snaps in that game as the left outside corner, which is the spot behind Diamador Lenore. And that had been Dallas Flowers, who'd been mostly taking the reps there during preseason. And seeing Chase Lucas out there has given me more hope than anything that he will make this roster. Because the biggest question that I've had about Chase Lucas is, are you going to keep him as a backup solely for the slot? That makes your roster construction more difficult. If you have players that can play multiple spots, that makes them more valuable. Well, having a guy that's a dedicated slot as a backup, which is what it appears his role is on this team, that becomes really hard for you to say, we're giving you one of the 53-man spots. You either have to be a monster on special teams, or you are nipping at the heels of that slot guy the entire time. And because if you only have so many outside spots and you have one dedicated slot guy and all of a sudden, and really 2 in Upton Stout. Upton Stout is not an outside player. He is a hybrid slot safety. When he played in college, the snaps I saw were 75% slot, 25% safety. This isn't an outside corner who comes in to play safety. This is slot. This is a safety who drops down to play slot, very much like a Jimmy Ward. Okay. So when I'm looking at this, I'm going, are you going to put 2 of your 6 corners as solely slot guys? They cannot play outside. And because the way the roster construction, if you do that, you're only going to carry 3 safeties. That's generally how your roster construction is going to work. So that's been the question. Seeing them put Chase Lucas there and getting reps there makes me say they are trying to see, can you handle some of the footwork and the nuance of being an outside guy so that you could be an emergency corner if we need to? That was really, really fascinating to me and makes me feel better about his chances of making the team. Seeing that said, okay, I think Chase Lucas is going to make this team, which I think he absolutely has earned a spot on this team. The question has become, how do you put together your roster construction? So that was a really encouraging thing to see for me. I was a little bit surprised that Chaz Surratt was getting reps over Curtis Robinson at the beginning of the game. I have felt like Surratt was probably at the bottom of the depth chart in the linebacker room. But then that kind of changes things around. Curtis Robinson, though, had the nice pick 6. That was great to see. Good for him. I mean, man, that's
played well besides that too.
Yeah, of a guy that Man, I was so high on him coming out of preseason last year, and then he had that ACL tear. Knowing how hard it had to have been to work back for him, I'm just pulling for that guy like crazy. But those were kind of my first impressions from the preseason game.
So we talked about him. I'm curious then, when you look at linebackers, is it me or do we have 17 now?
I mean, look, there's a lot of depth there. I think you look at, and people will look at things, especially like Nick Martin, and say, okay, he should be in this. He should be one of the top 3, top 4 linebackers on the field in some way. You have to pay attention to where they're playing, because there are 3 different linebacker positions. Just because a guy plays in one doesn't mean they can play all of them, and doesn't mean that they're going to have the same type for all of them. Now, Mike and Will in nickel on this team, the coverage spots, those are pretty similar. That's, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. But when you're in base, now you're bringing a Sam on. We're looking more like 2017 and 18 than we did in 2020, 21. So by that, I mean, Luke Gifford is the starting Sam right now. There's no doubt about that to me. And he is a different body type and different type of player than most of the other linebackers on our roster. And so he's been playing the Sam. So he is your starting Sam. Nick Martin has gotten 0 snaps at Sam all preseason. He is not the right body type. You look at him and Gifford, and there's like 40 pounds difference.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to put Nick Martin in Luke Gifford's spot. So like that is out of position. He hasn't taken any reps there. So you say, okay, automatically, Nick Martin is behind D Winters as the will. And so D Winters has gotten all of his snaps at will. Nick Martin has gotten all of his snaps at will. When you look at Tatum Bethune, he has gotten most of his snaps at Mike. He's gotten some at will. So there's kind of that, where do you slot Nick Martin with Tatum Bethune if the will goes down, if D Winters goes down? Tatum Bethune is the guy right behind Fred Warner. We've seen Jalen Graham, who came in, and I will say Jalen Graham in this last game looked like a completely different player than I have seen the last 2 preseasons. I mean, completely different. He looks leaner. He looks faster. He's playing way better. I mean, it's not even close. He looks like twice the player that he was last preseason. I don't know what happened with that guy, but somehow, like, it seems like the light bulb is starting to really come on. He looked like a different player. So much different. So he took some snaps at Sam. He took some snaps at Mike. He took some snaps at Will. So that's interesting with Jalen Graham. He's getting snaps at all 3 spots. Like we talked about Chase Lucas, the more positions you can play, the more value you can bring.
Yeah.
Curtis Robinson took some snaps at Sam and Mike. Chaz Surratt only took snaps at Mike. So this creates an interest. You have to understand about those as different positions and see how that's kind of laying out there. How does their roster construction go together? I think right now it's a really interesting battle between Curtis Robinson and Jalen Graham for the number 2 Sam spot. And it's whoever they feel better being able to play both Sam and Mike in case Tatum Bethune has to slide over. I mean, this is a really interesting. I will say the linebacker depth looks better than it has in probably 3 years. So that's exciting. That's really good to look at. Nick Martin continues to show just unreal speed. That speed he had at Oklahoma State is shining. There was one play I remember I went, wow.
In the third quarter? In the third quarter?
No, like it's probably a play that it's probably a play that nobody caught quite exactly what he had to do. So we were disguising a coverage. He is standing over the center. He ended up having to be man coverage on the tight end who's out by the hash. The tight end was running a flat route. He's in man coverage because, again, we're trying to disguise everything. And at the snap, he has to go cover. It was pretty much quarterback drop back, turned, and threw to the tight end in the flat, and he was there. And it was making contact. It was bobbled and everything. He made the tackle. I think it was like a 1 or 2 yard gain. I was so stinking impressed with that because just understand what that means, like for his speed when he is lined up over the center. the tight end is outside the tackle and he beats the tight end to his spot. He gets to the tight end on his spot. He's not beat on that route. That is phenomenal. That is the kind of tools that very few human beings have. I would dare say he is the fastest linebacker we've had since Patrick Willis on this team. Now, I'm not saying he's anywhere close to the player that Patrick Willis was. Patrick Willis was 245 and faster than Nick Martin. That's what's crazy to think about when you watch this. Like, Nick Martin's like 210. I think he's around there. It looks like he's playing around 210. And Patrick Willis is 35 pounds bigger. He was bigger than Luke Gifford, and he's running faster than Nick Martin. Patrick Willis was a cheat code. But I would dare say that as far as just pure foot speed, Nick Martin is the fastest linebacker we've had since Patrick Willis. So the things that you can do with linebackers with that kind of speed just change everything. Now, he's got a lot to learn in the game, but this is just really, really fun to see what he can bring. But that linebacker room is stacked.
So you want to shift to wide receiver then, because that's where it gets a little more questions.
Yeah, the wide receiver room is.
Hey, Tariq Owens. Hey, first, real quick, that was kind of cool to see.
I mean, it's a great story. It is a great story.
I get it, but like, come on, can we just be human about it for a second?
I mean, it is a great human story. Great to see the legacy. Because T.O. is a carryover from the dynasty time. Like, it feels like you have a piece of the dynasty teams there. I still believe that 98 team, if Garrison Hurst doesn't break his ankle, that's a Super Bowl team. But just having another T.O. there, that's a great story. I don't think he's to the point that he may be practice squad this year. Right. He's got a long way to go. He's definitely not his dad, and that's an unfair comparison there. He's got a lot to live up to, but the wide receiver room is a lot of the walking wounded. I mean, my goodness. DeMarcus Robinson's going to be suspended. Right. Juwan Jennings has a calf issue that now, even when Tim Kawakami starts saying the 49ers could do this kind of stuff, he's not hearing that just like speculation. Somebody has told him that. Somebody is telling Tim K, like, we're not getting anywhere with Juwan's contract. We're thinking we could put him on the IR, put that out there so that his agent and he knows that he's going to miss at least 3 games. And so any contract negotiation is going to take that into account. That we could shelve him for 3 games because he's not willing to be out there on the field. We're not going to use up an active day roster spot or an active day 1 roster spot for him with him, having a calf issue. This is clearly contract related. So I think that's been the confirmation of what that's happening, because Kyle Shanahan keeps saying, I expect Juwan to be there week 1. But then they could put him on IR. If you're expecting them there week 1, but the injury could be bad enough to where you just say, well, we're not going to even take it day to day. We're going to put you on IR. So you're automatically out for 3 weeks. Okay. That's contract related. So I think, that's got to get figured out. I don't blame both sides at this point. It's just very unfortunate because every day that a wide receiver gets hurt, like Jacob Cowing tweaking his hamstring again, gives more leverage to Juwan Jennings on week 1. But the 49ers don't operate that way. When a player tries to leverage them, they dig in their heels and say, absolutely not. So yeah, this is a really unfortunate stalemate when as a young team, you cannot get yourself in a hole in the beginning of the season. You have 3 very important games at the beginning of the season, and you're down DeMarcus Robinson, probably down Jordan Watkins. We'll see how quickly can the knee heal. You don't have Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is a huge part. I mean, if we go into week 1 and you say, we have Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and then a rotation there of Robbie Anderson and
Sky.
maybe Sky Moore.
What did you think? What did you think of Sky Moore?
I can see why the Chiefs traded him. I mean, I don't mean that as so harsh. Like
that came off a little harsh.
he struggles winning on routes. I mean, that it just is. We ran a line concept double slant, and he was blanketed. I mean, the corner ran the route for him. And this isn't like they ran game planning. Yeah.
The very first third down, the defender just was able to bat it down. I mean, you're like, oh,
it's like, yeah, he telegraphs his routes. Like, I was okay. I mean, got lots of speed. You can run him out there to as some clearing routes. I'm not going to be sitting there saying, okay, this is a guy that I think on third down we can really count on to be in his spot, have good hands and catch. I mean, he dropped another pass. He had that problem in Kansas City. So I'm just like, okay. I think he's just there to fill roster space until you can get your wide receiver room healthy. But I'm not impressed. Maybe you can use him to get some extra carries there. I think the pickup of Brian Robinson has been really intriguing, considering that I think Jeff Wilson Jr. has played a phenomenal preseason, absolutely phenomenal. Shows I think he's still got a lot of tread left on the tire, and you believe in Isaac Guerrero. Jordan James is supposed to be around week 1. Okay, now you trade for Brian Robinson. This seems a little weird.
Huge.
I think that tells you you're going to see Christian McCaffrey motioning out in some 2-back sets a lot as a receiver. So Sky Moore's not going to be taking reps away from Christian McCaffrey. If it was put Christian McCaffrey in the slot or Sky Moore in the slot, I'm putting Christian McCaffrey in the slot 9 times out of 10. In that situation, I'll have Brian Robinson in the backfield, or Jordan James or Isaac Guerrero. Like, I'm okay with that. So I don't know. Not impressed with some of the receiver stuff. I mean, especially the first September is going to be rough for the receiver room. It's going to be hard at 49er way. As far as finding some receivers on the outside. Now, you still got George Kittle. You still got Christian McCaffrey. You still got Ricky Pearsall, who's had a phenomenal preseason. So you still have weapons. Your role players have got to be on their details and do their jobs.
Hey, so I'm curious, because you mentioned Kittle. I'm curious what you've thought. We've seen enough. And for me, the naked eye, the casual, above a casual fan, I'd say Farrell has done pretty well. Is there something else that you're seeing? How are you on him? We picked him up, remember, from the Jaguars.
He's been okay. I expected a little bit more out of the blocking, considering that's mainly what we brought him in for, especially against the Raiders game. It wasn't great. So I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see, like, okay, we have a solid number 2 blocking tight end. It's also hard because you're usually putting them in comparison with George Kittle, and that's not fair to 99% of the tight ends in the league, as far as blocking. But still, I would like to see a little bit more. He's clearly the number 2 tight end. I think Jake Tonjes has moved into the number 3 spot. I do not understand, and I've said this on like my show with stats, that I do not understand the love commitment that the 49ers have with Braden Willis. I just don't get it. Not a good blocker at all, not a physical blocker at all. You could be okay with that if they brought a lot as a really athletic receiving tight end, but I'm not seeing that side of it either.
He's like a specimen kind of guy, though, right?
I mean, he's, well, sorta. I haven't seen it on the field. Like, I haven't seen the physical trait projection on the field. So I don't know what to do with this. Like, why does he continue to take up space there? I don't know.
Okay, let's shift to quarterback. It may be a nothing burger, but Mordecai is the third guy, right?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think. I mean, considering what they've done this offseason of letting him go, and the fact that he wasn't the first snaps in this game, I think Mordecai is going to be practice squad again. Like that's his best shot. I don't think they're not afraid somebody else is going to go pick him up. So it's going to be Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, most likely Bradley. I really think that's going to be it. Or Sudfeld.
Oh, now they did. Yeah, I did see they brought him back, and I thought maybe he was going to play. I didn't know how that works, but yeah. So, and Sudfield knows the system because he's been there like 19 different times. I feel like.
Yeah, what that said to me is that they really don't feel comfortable with either Bradley or Mordecai being their emergency quarterback. That they feel like like worst comes to worst, those guys are going to be on somebody else's practice squad. So if you get into November, God forbid, and you're down to your third quarterback and you need to bring in another one, you can sign them to your active roster off somebody else's practice squad. If they're on somebody else's practice squad, you're going to try and get them back on your practice squad. They're not, I don't think they believe that either of those guys are really a threat to go signed onto somebody else's active roster. So that's where I'm at with both of them.
So
now, Sudfeld did hurt his arm. Oh man. Okay, I didn't catch that. I was very busy this weekend. I had an all-day conference I was at Saturday, so I missed a few things. I just caught Kyle's presser after the game, and so I guess they've already gotten rid of Sudfeld. So I mean, it's going to be Bradley. Like Tanner Mordecai, I've seen nothing that says another team is going to poach him to their active roster.
I thought Mordecai looked better than Bradley in that game.
It's not just about looking better. Remember, he's playing so late in the game. You have to look at their body of work.
He got hurt through
everything. You have to understand, like, they released him. Nobody else brought him into their camp. Those are things you have to kind of pay attention to. Like that I do not see any team signing him to the active roster. Like, whose active roster is looking at this and saying Tanner Mordecai is a kid, man, we can go get this guy. Like he can be that they're going to try and start his development all over again in a new system. No, he's 49ers practice squad. That's where he's going to be.
Yeah. And I kind of tend to agree with who just said that think it'll be Technic Chick. I feel like it'll be Purdy, Mac Jones, and then either Bradley or Mordecai, whoever, doesn't really matter, on the practice squad. So they'll probably keep just two on the active roster.
Yeah, that's what they've done, and they do the emergency QB elevation during the week.
Which that rule is because of us, right? Is that the one?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's because of us.
It's brand new, like then it's second
year.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's the NFC Championship game Purdy rule. Like,
yeah,
you don't.
So frustrating.
The NFL wants to protect their product. I mean, when you have a team that does not have a quarterback, like everybody tuned out of that game. Their rating, that happened because their ratings dropped by like 70% by the third quarter. Nobody was watching the game. Like unless you were a 49ers fan watching your team, just watching the knife slowly pierce into your heart as time went on, or a Philly fan running victory laps around a team that doesn't have a quarterback. And nobody from another team was interested. They're like, well, Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. All right. And they turn it off. I mean, there was no point in watching that. So the NFL looked at that and they said, we're not having that again. We're not having this. So that's where they came up with that rule. Yeah. So you can elevate a guy. Neither of those guys are going to take up an active roster spot. They really just need to add a dedicated. They need to expand to 54 and say the 54 spot is dedicated for a quarterback. For a third quarterback, I should say. You have to make it. If you say that, then somebody's going to use it as an end around to keep another player on. So you say you can have a 54th spot for a third quarterback. They've almost de facto done this with making it cheaper and not affecting salary cap is essentially why they did it this way. But they just need to go ahead and make it official. I mean, if you're going to, the players union, I think will push for that in the next CBA because the guys on the practice squad make like a quarter of somebody does on the active roster, even on a vet minimum. So this it's really financially more lucrative for teams to do it the way they're doing now. but it's kind of skeezy onto the players. Like, we're going to keep you at a practice squad salary the whole time and then elevate you every week to the active roster. You just need to go ahead and do that.
Right. Makes sense. So I want to find out a little bit. Let's drop some knowledge. Can you explain what it's like now, the last preseason cut day? When do we get to the final 53? What is the team going through right now?
Most likely they're starting the coaches are in their meetings right now. They're going to go do offensive side meetings, defensive side meetings, start compiling the final grades. They have most of them put together, but they're going to do their grading off the game. So, understand, coaches have a grading sheets that they have for every practice, every preseason game. So it's not just the preseason games. Every single practice that they've had, they've watched through the film. They've given players grades off of all those. They have trackings of who's made the most mistakes, who's made, like they're going to look at that. And the first thing they're going to do is start going through and say, okay, who are the at each position, who is the number one guy? Each position's got to cut one player first. So what is the guy who has made the most mistakes during camp? That guy's going to be cut.
Who can we trust the least?
Yeah, and then you're going to be looking at your grading, and you're going to be compiling that. And then as an offense, you're going to come together and you're going to say, these are like our top 30. These are our top 30 grades. And defense is going to do the same thing. They're going to get through that. You come together with like 60 guys. And then that goes to Shanahan, Lynch, and maybe the coordinators are brought in for the conversation as to figuring out those last, out of the top 60, 7 of those of the top 10 are going to get cut. And they're going to work through that top 10, top 12 and figure out, as far as roster construction, how everything's gone. You figure out who are my top 50 or top 48 or so. And then those guys are all safe. And then what does that leave us left with? And how do we feel on this? And then you put together those last 4 or 5 spots, not considering specialists. So that's what they're going through and everything. So it does happen fairly quickly, but you also have to do that. And then they have to get with the medical staff and say, okay, what's the deal with the medicals on this? And so that will affect your grading and your roster construction on who is eligible for the pup, who would be a good candidate for the pup. You don't want to put somebody on the pup that's going to miss the first 6 weeks that you expect back in 4, especially if it's like a receiver right now. So you have to figure out, how are we going to keep them on the active? Are they going to go on short-term IR? How many callbacks are we going to have? How many callbacks do we want to use up? If it's somebody that might be back in 4, but we don't want to use an IR return on them, we're going to put them on the pup and we'll just shelve them for 6 weeks. So, that's what they're working through right now. So for me, I'm going to do my whole breakdown video on the last preseason game after the 53 gets cut, because there's medicals and other decisions that are happening there that they have access to information that I don't, that are going into this process. So sure. I will help show what is it about the players that made the 53 that maybe be some surprises or on that bubble that we like. So that's what I'm waiting to do for that review video, which will happen by tomorrow. They have to have their final 53 by tomorrow.
Okay. Yep. So I got another question to ask you before I do that. I want to remind you guys to take your phone and walk up to someone who is wearing Niner gear. Show them this very YouTube channel. Show them one of your favorite videos. That's one of the number one ways that you can help this channel. Also, check out the members website. That's what keeps Johnny afloat in doing these videos. And I love seeing these. I know you guys do too. So thanks for doing that. Also, reminder, Sports Edit Nation, one of my other shows, is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today's show just came out. We talked a little bit about college football. It was week 0, so college football officially kind of started. Stanford may not win a game this year, so we'll have to find out. Feel bad for Andrew Luck. He's the GM over there at Stanford. So I want to ask you though now, Johnny, The chat was also wanting to know, I didn't want to put you in such a bad mood. I got 3 syllables that are going to make your whole demeanor come down, and that is Jake Moody.
I mean, make
So
you moody.
what? Just
Look,
here we go. What do you think, man?
I think we're in the sunk cost fallacy. The idea that you keep into something because you have such a sunk cost into it. And so if you back out now, I mean, look, a third
Oh, you
round
mean like
pick on it.
You mean like Trey Lance?
Exactly. A third round pick on a kicker is like 3 first round picks on a quarterback.
It is. It is.
It really is. So
I agree.
you have a lot of draft capital invested into Jake Moody, but I think what's been clear, especially with the hiring of Brant Boyer and what kind of came out about that and Hightower being moved on, is that Kyle Shanahan has always viewed special teams as like, I just don't want it to get me to lose. And it's a way I can keep another smart mind, a football mind, in the building as a special teams coordinator, but they haven't had a special teams specialist. I think even Jake Moody talked about that, of having somebody in who understands no. It was, I saw David Akers had a post about it, that's actually a lot of teams don't actually have special teams coordinators who understand like kicker mechanics, who understand all the mechanics of everything. Brant Boyer does. You hear him in a press conference, you understand like this guy knows exactly everything, like all the special details about special teams. Hightower was not that guy. He was a football mind that they brought in that would do some special team stuff, but they also probably wanted him to do some other things as well. What that tells me is that whoever was scouting Jake Moody did not understand kicker mechanics. They didn't understand the details of kickers. What they did is they said, we need a kicker right now. We don't want to spend $5 million on Robbie Gould. Robbie wants to go back to Chicago anyways. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and get the biggest leg and the guy who's made the most field goals out of college this year. And we're not going to mess around with it. We're going to go get the best kicker that was there as far as numbers.
Blindly
and that's because if we don't, we think New England's going to go get that kicker. So we're not going to mess around with it. We're going to get the best kicker that's coming out, and we'll be set. And I feel like that's what they did, because Jake Moody is so inconsistent with his kicks. I'm not an expert on kicking mechanics,
kickoffs.
But when you have a kicker that is so off on their consistency, this screams to me, this guy does not like, his mechanics are not good. Like the fundamentals of his mechanics can't be good. This is like watching a quarterback who misses left and right all the time. There's like, this is not a favorable quality. He may have a big leg, but there seems to be a lot of inconsistency there. And this isn't just last year with his hurt ankle. This has been since he's been with the 49ers. He's been wild. It's not like right down the pipe every time. This is just inside the left upright, just inside the right upright. Misses a PAT, kicks a kickoff out of bounds. We're asking him to kick it out of the end zone and on kickoffs before this weird kickoff came in. And sometimes he's not even making it to the end zone, and you're giving up a 60-yard return. Like, there's been a massive amount of inconsistency here with Jake Moody, and it feels like they're still paying the bill for not putting a big emphasis on special teams for a while. And Kyle talked about this in his presser after the Raiders game. He was like, I don't really talk to kickers that much. I don't really have much to say to them. I just think, just like, I want them to be locked in, go out there and do their job and get it done. Like, that's all I want you to do.
Make the kick.
Yeah. I just want you to make the kick, do your job. Like, you have that job. You have one job, go do your job and get it done. Like, that's all I want to see. So like, you backed out of a kicker competition because you had so many injuries that you couldn't keep 2 kickers on your training camp roster. And so you stuck with the guy that you have the sunk cost in, and now you're continuing to be left, in the boat with the sunk cost. And this just starts feeling like, when are you going to swallow it and say, this is not the dude? Like, how many of us, I understand the reason the NFL moved the PAT back was because they didn't want it to be just an automatic play. So people got up and left and went and decided that was snack time during the game. And they were trying to prove more engagement to advertisers. This is not a positive outcome for that for 49ers fans, because we no longer feel like, okay,
you can never do
Christian
that.
McCaffrey got in for a touchdown. We're tied up now. No, you're going to sit there and go, oh, good Lord. We scored a touchdown, but Moody's got to make the PAT.
Right. Hold on. We got to wait.
Like, I am never looking at this and thinking, I feel in any way just relieved that we scored a touchdown. Now, like, this is I feel like I need to send some bills to the 49ers for when I have to go get my blood pressure checked, because Jake Moody's our kicker. Like, you did this to me because you kept this guy on the team.
You did this. You did this.
You did this to me. Like, this is not fair. But yeah, I don't understand it. I'm hopping off the Jake Moody. Have hopped off the Jake Moody train. He's got to make like 50 kicks in a row from 45
to sneak back on the train.
Yeah, to get me going. Okay, you've earned some grace.
Yeah,
like,
50 is a good number.
He has used up all the grace capital he has with the fans. No.
1,000,000,000%. One thing that I think it was Strawberry Reacts had mentioned is, how can we get rid of Latu, TDP, all these third round guys we have no problem getting rid of, but because it's a kicker, getting a kicker in the third round is like what we did with Trey Lance. Like, that's the only reason they just can't do it. And it's like, guys, it might just be time. Like, if the Cowboys went from, remember the Cowboys had a rough go with it about 3 years ago. He was worse than Moody. I forget his name, but I assume he's not in the league anymore, but it was bad. I mean, memes were coming out every week about him. It was bad. And then they get a guy who's like almost automatic for him. So like, if the Cowboys can do it, and we know how trash they are.
That was Brett Maher.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Brett Maher.
Who went through that, where it was like, oh gosh,
it was terrible. He was missing extra points. He was missing almost every field goal. He got the yips. Dude was on a roster the next year and was almost automatic the next year. Like, I want to say we brought him in for a little bit when Jake Moody was hurt.
Gosh. I mean, I'm just saying, in the National Football League, you can find a guy that can kick the ball through some uprights,
especially when you're seeing kickers seem like the consistency from 50 plus has just shot through the roof. I don't know if these guys have figured out that they're never having to give P tests and they just started juicing or what, but it feels 20 years ago, a 53-yard field goal was a long field goal. And there was a 50 plus was very rare, and very rare that it was made. Now it seems like everybody's banging through 58, 60, 62 yarders and with room to spare. So yeah. I don't know. And so I think you're right. Like, it feels like it's easier to find a kicker who can make it consistently from 40 to 55 right now than it ever has been. And we do not have that, even with spending a third round pick.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a change of scenery. Yeah, you do. From the good house into the dog house is where Moody is definitely. Is that enough change of scenery? Like, come on. So we will wait and see. He unfortunately will probably be on the 53-man roster. So by Friday, if we're able to go on Friday, Lord willing, we will know the roster and we'll be able to go over. Every year there's guys that get cut that you're like, wow, I can't believe that guy got cut. Lisa chiming in with a super
75 yards. I mean, it's almost getting there. Wasn't it Harbaugh that he had Akers try one from, I think it was 75. because of the weird, like, little known rule. Gosh, what game was that? Because it was right before halftime. If you fair catch a punt, you get and it's going to be like with no time left on the clock. I want to say it was what it was, that you get a free field goal attempt,
and he didn't
something like that. And
yeah.
so, like, it was literally Akers out there with no snapper. Like, he set it on a tee and was out there. I think he just had to have 10 guys stand in front of him, and there was no defensive players on the field. And he attempted one. I want to say it was like 75 yards. I can't remember what game that was. I remember it did happen, though. It was one of those moments of, like, look at Jim pulling out like a rule from the 40s or 50s that was still on the books. That we hadn't, that you see in the NFL like once every 35 years. But I want to say it was something like that. But no, there was the kicker that came out this time and nailed one from 69, 68 in preseason.
70. No, it got to it, or no, it wasn't quite 70. Maybe not, but I know it was the Jaguars, and it had room to spare. Like, it had a couple yards to spare. I mean, it was unbelievable. There was arguments I saw that they should put that in the record books.
Yeah, because it's officially doesn't count for the record books because it was a preseason game. Right. It was like, dude, you nail this in any kind of NFL game,
it's a big deal.
It should count.
Document it or something.
Yeah. I mean, that was wild. But so you see that, and Jake Moody's missing a PAT.
Yeah, come on. Like, it's like, what are we doing? So we'll have to see. All right. So before we get out of here, what else is there anything that you're looking for cut day?
Well, what are you looking for?
Well, I would say the biggest thing for me is how many running backs and how many wide receivers are going to be kept. And also the big thing is the depth chart. Oh, Lisa's still going through.
Yes. So see, glad Adam thought I was going to cut him off there, but I didn't. So that's why he was dragging that answer out so long. He's like, he's going to cut me off. And I didn't, because I can't do it every time, or else he starts getting it. So glad none of the Sanders are on the team. Look, I would still love 1995 Dion on the team. So I'm not going to say I'm glad that none of the Sanders are on.
But we saw what Shiloh did.
If it was 19, yeah, we saw he took a swipe, and he hasn't made a team now because of it. I saw the extended version of the question with Shedeur about whether he's earned a spot on the 53, and it was kind of a crazy question. Like, do you think you've earned a spot on the 53? Like, you're trying to start something here. Yeah. He knew it, and so he gave a long explanation of why, through his work and everything, that he's earned a spot, but that's not his decision. So there was a little bit of a lot made out of nothing on that. But for me, I think the biggest question is going to be offensive line makeup. So I put it on X right before this. It's been interesting to watch the snap rotation, because again, offensive line is not just offensive line. The center, and John Feliciano has talked about this a lot through his different interviews, of how hard of a job it is for the center in this system to make all those calls. He was like, it's mentally torture. I don't know how Jake does it. That's why Jake Brendel won the I think it was the Bob McKittrick Award last year, was not because of necessarily his pure performance on the field, but because of mentally what he has to handle during the week in preparation, the time he puts in the film study, and then bring that on Sunday and make the right calls. That there's a lot on his plate. And so when you have a guy like John Feliciano being like, yeah, it's mental torture, that's why they don't like rookies in that spot. There is a massive amount of data and information that they have to process and get through. So when I look at Connor Colby and Drew Moss, don't even think about those guys playing center. Like, that is not on the table. So I know there's been a lot of people really high on the Nuge, Drake Nugent, but he is not the Ted Nugent version of centers. So Like Nugent to me is our third center, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Like for him, he's very, very behind on a lot of things. To me, Nugent is practice squad, like at best, practice squad.
Yeah.
Hennessy has been underwhelming at best. So
yeah, I don't like any of those dudes.
Like Austin Pleasance has been really underwhelming. Like those are three of my lowest graded offensive linemen who played through preseason.
Those guys couldn't snap the ball correctly. We were watching the game, and every snap was like, even the commentators are talking about it. Like, you can't have that.
Well, and so when I look at this, I say, okay, of the players who played center, we're talking about Drake Nugent, Matt Hennessy, Nick Zakelj. I have not been high on Zakelj. Zakelj has not played well during preseason, but he's your best backup center right now, or best backup best backup who can play center. Right. Drew Moss and Connor Colby have both taken snaps at left guard and right guard, so they're trying to get both guys work there. Nick Zakelj has played all three spots. He's played right guard, center, left guard. Matt Hennessy's only played center. Drake Nugent started out playing center in this last game. They moved him to right guard, and Nick Zakelj got snaps at center. And he's gotten a few snaps at right guard, but most have been at center. So that tells me Nugent's most likely practice squad. Hennessy, it's going to come down to what it comes down to is, do you think that Hennessy isn't as much of a drop off of Zakelj? And do you think that Moss has a lot more upside than Zakelj? And do you worry that you might need a third emergency center? And do you think that Nick Zakelj will get claimed by somebody else? Because interior offensive line depth is terrible across the league. I think Nick Zakelj makes this team. Yeah. I think as much as most of us probably would like to see somebody else be in that spot, Nick Zakelj is making this team, I think. Matt Hennessy will be the interesting one. If they keep Matt Hennessy, they also keep Zakelj, I think. That means if they keep Matt Hennessy, then Drew Moss is a target for the practice squad. That's where I think it is.
Zakelj, I think, makes it based on Tim Ryan's comments during the game. In the second half, those guys, Nugent and those guys, were kind of underperforming, and Tim Ryan mentioned Zakelj, and his thinking was probably, and he probably has some insider information, I would think, knowing a little bit about what they're wanting to do, I would think. And so I think Zakelj makes it as well. But gosh, offensive line definitely.
I'm really worried about our backup tackle situation. Spencer Burford has played a very sneaky good preseason. I've been very pleased with Burford since watching the tape. Like I am, like I think this has been one of his best preseasons. So like he's been sneaky good there as the backup left tackle. He's taken all the snaps there in the first half of every game. You know, he's gotten a lot of snaps there, and even into the second half of a bunch of games. Trent hasn't played a single preseason snap. So Austin Pleasance has been terrible. I mean, he is practice squad at best. So I think the 49ers might be sniffing the waiver wire here for another backup left tackle. I just don't know how many offensive linemen you keep. Do you keep 9? Do you keep 10? If you keep 10, who's going to be that 10th guy? I wouldn't be keeping Pleasance over Hennessy. Like Pleasance has been my lowest graded offensive lineman of the top 10 that have played in preseason. So I don't know. Like it goes, you know, you got Trent, you're great with. Colt McKivitz, I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm good with. Burford, I'm good with as a swing tackle. Past that, I'm saying, oh Lord, please send a tackle to the 49ers. Because if you have to call up Austin Pleasance, it's not going to be good at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It's coming soon. You said tomorrow. By tomorrow night, we'll have the roster, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'll start seeing things maybe even this afternoon, as they finish up the coach and personnel meetings. Which, I mean, it's 8:25 there in Santa Clara, so you know they're going through those meetings and trying to get things out. They're gonna cut the first round of cuts here pretty quick, and then they're gonna start watching the waiver wire and kind of calling people out and calling people and seeing what's out there, what's what, and you know, sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's why the next show will be fun to kind of go over.
Yeah, it'll be fun to go over that, and you know, we can look forward to the season. My biggest thing with the season is for that first game, I've got to make some game day nachos. Those are the thing. So I'm going to be on my thing. What's your go-to on game day?
So definitely